Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's episode of The Grill. And we have a very interesting topic and guests today. We're going to be talking about the Dota 2 workshop. So we have some local, well, not local, but local to the Dota 2 community workshop artists here today. Super excited. So if we can have y'all do a little quick introduction for those who might not know who you are, starting with Hex.
Oh, okay. So I'm Hex. I've done a couple of sets that are in game right now. I work with my partner, Hot Coffee, or Hoff. A lot of people know him as. And so we had a couple of sets for TI4, and then we made a whole bunch of stuff that didn't go in. And then we had a set in for TI last year. And then personally, I've done a couple of stickers for CS:GO. I'm a graphic designer. I'm a texture artist. So yeah, that's me.
She designed this all over graphic for East Coast.
Right now I'm Beast Coast's main graphic designer, so the shirt that Leafy's wearing, I designed that. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah. So, moving on, how about you, Anixie?
Hey, I'm Steph. I'm Anuxi. I've been working in the Dota 2 workshop since 2012, and I think my first one that I got in was in the workshop competition bundle, and I've just been working on it since then.
Sweet. And last but not least, ChemicalAlia.
Hello, I'm Shailene.
You're a little quiet, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Is this a little better?
Yeah,
Maybe if I
that's
get
better.
closer to my computer. How's this?
That's good.
I've been also working on Dota sets since 2012, and I used to do TF2 stuff before that. And now I do a little bit more Counter-Strike than Dota these days. But yeah, I'm a video game artist, and that's pretty much me.
Sweet. All right. Well, cool. Well, let's jump right into it. And we're going to talk a little bit about y'all's backgrounds to get to know you a little better, and then we're going to talk about the workshop itself. So, when did you first get started in digital art? And anybody feel free to jump in. I know it's kind of a group thing, so just jump in.
What, specifically digital art when we got started? Like,
yeah.
Not getting paid?
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah, like when did you first start the hobby turning into a career, if that was how it worked out for you? Like when did you first get your hands into digital art?
2001 was when I saved up enough money to buy my first tablet, so that was it.
Wow. It's a long time.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know what year it was, but it was kind of similar. I had a friend who was into digital art. Like she was an illustrator. She's still a pretty good illustrator, but she got a new tablet, and so she gave me her old secondhand tablet, and it was like a terrible piece of junk, but I used it. It barely had pressure sensitivity, but I used it to use Photoshop to photo manip. I wasn't a great illustrator. I'm still not the best illustrator, but just getting my hands into Photoshop to build stuff digitally, that's how I got started.
Okay.
And I got started similar to Steph in 2003, I think, was when I was able to afford my first Wacom Graphire. It may have been refurbished, and I used it to do smudging on my Mario fan art drawings in Paint Shop Pro.
Paint Shop Pro!
Yeah, and then I would put them on my Mario website, and that was how I first got started.
Oh, that's so cool. So what about getting started professionally? When did y'all really start to think about it as a career?
2003 for me. I went to because I finished high school in 2012, and my work experience teacher or careers guider was like, oh, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, well, none of these courses are any good because I don't want to be a graphics designer. I don't want to be a fine artist. I want to work in video games. So we found this one college on the other side of in another state, basically. And I was like, that's it, I'm doing that. And that's when I was like, I need to make games.
Oh, cool.
So that was 2003.
Okay. What about the rest of y'all?
I feel like I don't have dates for... Do you want to go first, Shay?
Oh, sure. Same here. I mean, I would have liked to have started with games much earlier had I known how to even go about it, but out of high school I joined the Army because I didn't know what to do, with art or music or what was my career, and was a linguist for a couple years and ended up coming back from that and studied fine art because that's really all I all I really could find in my state. Like, we didn't have any programs. This was back in like the early 2000s. And it wasn't until my last semester of college in like 2008 that I found out about a program in Texas that I could go to for grad school and like learn 3D modeling and basically how to do art for video games, and immediately did that, and then graduated a year later and got into like the industry around 2010. So it was a long process of, it wasn't a straight line. I mean, I didn't, so you'll end up there eventually.
That's cool.
I feel like my story is kind of similar to Shay's. I was in high school, and I was like still messing around in Photoshop. I was kind of becoming known as a graphic designer, like an artistic person in my high school. Like, my high school did a musical production, and I did the T-shirts for it. So I was just kind of, I was that teenager who knew how to use computers. But I didn't know what to do or if it could be a career the way I wanted it to be. So I graduated high school, and I just started taking like a BSc, like a Bachelor of Science, at my local university. I got like a year and a half into it, and I realized that I was spending all my time like doing creative art stuff and like web design and like just mucking about on the internet in creative ways. And I was like, I'm not studying, I'm doing this other thing. And about that time, that's when I met Mike, and he was already kind of involved in the TF2 workshop. And I was like, there's really a career here. There's like a community here that I could be a part of. So I dropped out of normal university, and I went to like a 2-year technical institute for graphic design and web development, while Mike was doing the same, at the same school he was doing the 3D program. So we tried to work together that way.
Oh, okay, cool. So we're kind of getting the timelines down, but so what got you interested in the Dota 2 workshop specifically, when you were active in the Dota 2 workshop, since some people aren't really, as we'll talk about further on.
Well, I can jump off from what I just said. Like I said, I met Mike, and so the Dota 2 workshop, I feel like it was pretty new when I met Mike. He had gotten the fast learner into TF2 the year before, and so the Dota 2 workshop was kind of blooming from the success of the TF2 workshop. And I guess I'll talk a little bit. My influence is like a texture artist. I was doing texture work for IMVU, which is like a 3D chat program, like a really goofy like teenager 3D chat program. And so I saw Mike, and I was like, maybe we can collaborate on some Dota 2 stuff. And so that's how, like, I just discovered it. It made sense from my like IMVU work to jump into something a little bit bigger with more potential, with a bigger community.
Mm-hmm. What about the rest of you?
I think the polycount contest in 2012 just came around right at the right time. Like, I'd finished my job at Tryon, I'd moved back to Australia. We were doing like part-time freelancing while like organically trying to garden and like dig a mountain down in our backyard. And I think I just was like, okay, the freelancer that I worked for, Kingdom Death, Adam Poots, I was like, can I take like 2 months off to do like this polycount workshop competition? And he's like, I love Dota 2, make me a Lena set. I was like, all right, cool. So because my freelancer was okay with doing that, I just took the 2 months off, and yeah, cool. That was it. And I downloaded the I couldn't get a hand on a beta key, so I downloaded the viewer at the time. I think they released the Dota 2 viewer for TI2, and then I somehow like scraped on NeoGAF for a beta key. And I started playing. Oh my gosh. It was amazing. I queued like every single server, and I didn't look at any guides, and I didn't do any bot games, so I just jumped in and was like, hi guys, what do I do? And everyone's like, fucking noob. I was like, what does the tango do? And they're like, it heals you. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to use it.
Yeah, I remember when I first started Dota, I would bring like 4 healing salves to lane with me, because I was like, what is a tango? Like, this heals me, so this should be right?
Yeah. I was like, oh, if I eat 4 trees, that's 4 times the healing, right?
Yeah. Everybody starts somewhere. What about you, Alia? How did you get into the Dota 2 workshop?
Well, I had done, like I said, like a couple years earlier, some TF2 items from the TF2 polycount contest, and I did like character mods, like some of the female characters that you could play as. So I was like familiar with modding for Valve games, but That was around the time when I was working at Gearbox Software, and I was working on Borderlands 2 at the time.
Cool! I love
So it was
that
like
game.
super busy, but like when they wanted to launch the workshop for Dota, they wanted to have some content to like release with it. So they had contacted a couple of the TF2 people to fill it out like in the beginning, and so I'd made a really shitty Kunkka set, and that was like my first thing. And like it was hard at the beginning because I was really busy with that job, so I was only able to do it like here and there, and I wasn't so sure if I could like really promote myself because of the fact that like I had another job, so it was like, oh, I'm gonna do this, but like sneakily. But they were cool with it, so that's kind of what got me started.
That's cool. I didn't know you worked for Gearbox. Borderlands 2 is one of my favorite games.
I literally replay Borderlands every once in a while with my friends, and every time we get to the credits, I'm like, "Hey, look, that's Shay!"
Oh, that's so cool.
That's cool.
All my friends are sick of hearing about you by now, just for the record.
Boy.
That's awesome. So what about to take a break from the whole timeline thing? Do you have hobbies and interests outside of gaming or art that you want to share?
I like Bitcoin.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, it was a complete segue, like a complete left turn, because I hate money and I hate finance and I hate numbers and I'm no good at math. But I started learning about cryptocurrency, and that was really fun and different, and learning something different was really challenging. I really enjoyed it.
That's cool. Is there anybody in particular that like put the bug in your ear about crypto coin, or was it just like you saw it
I just
online?
woke up one morning and I just was like, I need to buy Bitcoin. Like just straight up. Like at 6 o'clock in the morning, I was like, why am I awake? I need to buy Bitcoin. And I just spent the next 3 hours that morning, like ringing my bank, like trying to get my credit card purchase through and all kinds of stuff. It was pretty crazy.
Wow.
It was good.
That's really cool. I feel like that's one of the things that I've always like been half interested in, but I've never like committed to it. So like you're cool for committing to like learning and like doing it. Just like I salute you.
You're gonna be on a
You just
beach
gotta
in
dive in.
Key Largo in 20 years, and we're just gonna be not there.
We're gonna be drawing swords.
Yeah.
For regular stupid money.
Regular stupid money.
Well,
Oh,
that's
who
a
knows?
cool
It'll probably
hobby.
go to 0 tomorrow, and I'll be like, "Well, guys, I tried it, and it didn't."
Press F
oh,
to
well.
pay respects.
Yeah.
Cool. What about the other two? Any hobbies or anything?
Yeah, I guess sometimes I have hobbies.
When you have that free time.
Yeah, when that happens. Weirdly enough, I don't play a lot of video games because I don't like sitting in front of my computer. So
Yeah, I feel you.
it's like I like to. I'm a classical pianist,
Oh.
and I like to learn languages in my free time. So I like to do like
How's your
more
Chinese?
things that don't let my
You Mandarin. You went back and you did some more speaking.
I was a Mandarin Chinese linguist when I was in the army,
Oh,
and
wow,
so
cool.
when I was still living in Washington, like last year or so, I was taking night classes in Chinese, German, Spanish, and Japanese.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
It's so cool.
I
Yeah,
can't
it's
imagine
so
how
cool.
hard that was to like balance.
It's just like kind of like Anuxi says, doing something that's the opposite of what you spend all your time doing to like change your
Yeah.
brain and like just think about something else and
Yeah.
expand what you do.
Yeah, that's super cool. And those are like hard languages too, especially
Yeah.
Mandarin. That's
They're all hard in their own way.
Yeah, that's cool. And piano's awesome too. I always wish
Mhm.
I could play the piano.
Tiny hands. If you got tiny hands, don't even bother. That's my advice to you.
No!
Big hands, you'll be fine.
I was working a retail job over Christmas, and somebody said, "You must play the piano. You have huge, long like fingers." And I was like, "I don't.
Dallas, you
Oh.
should do it.
I was in
I can
band,
loan them to you."
and my teacher was like, "You should play the oboe because your hands are so tiny and no one plays oboe." I was like, "Okay," and then I was like, there was only 3 people that played oboe, and I was third chair out of 3. Woo!
Wow.
So good. I practiced so much. No, I did. What about you, Paige?
I'm gonna sound super lame compared to like Bitcoin, like finance and classical piano. I collect toys. I collect like Figmas. It sounds
cool.
it's a doofy hobby, I guess. The most hobby part of it is like I've taken some. I used to take pictures of them. I've been too busy or like not super motivated to take any like Figma photography in a while. But
Yeah.
like I buy the stupid Japanese toys and I put them in I pose them and
That's
they're fun.
They're really well made.
Yes.
Come on,
They're so well made.
good.
What's your
I-
favorite one that you have?
My favorite one?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I'm biased because we are talking about Dota.
Yeah.
But the Wind Ranger Figma that they'd made last year, or 2 years ago now, I guess.
Like the adjustable one, right?
Yeah,
has,
she's
like-
one of the most posable Figmas I've ever owned. I have a couple. I have more than a couple. But just like she's really, really movable, like really articulated, and so you can get some really fun, really great poses from her that are just like that you can't get from other Figmas. Like her and Anti-Mage too. Like I like Wind Ranger more because I'm biased. She's pretty, she's fun, but Anti-Mage is also really articulated, and I was just like super impressed by like what Valve and Good Smile got working there. I haven't seen Lena, like because I don't know, I haven't bought Lena yet. I'm assuming she's similar, but like both of the Dota Figmas that came out for TI6 were great.
Yeah. You have like a glass case and everything?
I have my house, the apartment that I'm renting, well, I guess the house that I'm renting has like a display case. I'm assuming old people used to use it for like fine china.
Yeah.
And now it's full of like anime girls, so it just like, it was one of the reasons I moved into this house. I was like, oh, it's got a display case for my Figma. That's perfect. Let's live here.
That's great. I need to get one. I have a couple too from like animes and stuff, and I have some comic book ones too. But
Yeah.
I love them. It's like I'm not gonna do much with it, but it's pretty. Like it's decoration for my house, you know. But
I've got a bunch of Monster Hunter ones,
Oh
and the
my
cats
gosh, me
keep
too.
chewing them.
the ones from like the blind boxes.
I've
Or
got these really big
they're
ones
like-
I bought in Germany, and
Oh.
I paid like 200 euros to ship them back.
Whoa.
Like they're
I
like
would love a big Monster Hunter
elite
one.
11 inches, I think.
Wow. Yeah, I have like, we have like 6 to 8 of like the blind box ones. They're like smaller ones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they're
they're
like from
cool.
one of the older games, not from the new one, but.
Yeah.
Which I hear you've been playing.
Oh, I'm so addicted.
I know, me
I haven't
too.
been playing much Dota.
I know, same. Anyways, so moving on, what about, what's y'all's favorite workshop item that you've created? Hard question, I'm sure y'all have done a lot.
I really like the Morphling set I worked on with Danny Dem and Tiago for Era, the pro player. That
Okay.
was really, really fun. That was really, really cool.
Cool.
I feel like I have two answers. The first one is the first set we got in, the Clockwork set. Just because I feel like it's even though I've done so much more after that, it's some of my best work. Just like a fluke. Like the first thing I did was perfect. It was in 2 chests, and then it's also like on display on like the new Valve Workshop like guidelines page. They like sketched it and like put it in official artwork, which is like really like the headpiece for that.
Yeah.
That's like really nice. It's like they care about us. Like they redrew it as an example of a good item. So like that means a lot to me. So yeah, I guess I'll just stick with that. That's my favorite item.
What about you, ChemicalAlia?
Hate all of mine.
What?
I guess.
No, that's a
I
move.
guess,
That's
like, there's a courier from, like, 2013 that never got in the game. It was called the Catakeets, and it haunts me to this day. But those are my favorite. It was, like, little catbird things, and they were supposed to be, like, modular, and the heads and wings and stuff would swap out, and they forgot to put it in the game. And but it's still my favorite.
They
It was really
forgot to
cute.
put it in the game?
It was like in the game files, but
Oh,
then you know how
yeah.
it is sometimes. And then like the thing with the dire tide happened, and then it just got pushed off. And then like the guy who was working on it on Valve's then like stopped working on Dota, and it just like died. But that was my favorite because it had a lot of personality. I guess like other than that, the Timbersaw set, it looks like garbage, but I really like that one. It was fun
Is
to
it
make.
the Ice one?
Yeah, it looks like trash
I love
because it's
it!
like old,
Oh,
but like I really like it. It's funny. Timbersaw's hideous, but I like like having personality in my stuff, and I think that one was probably one of the best examples of just like being able to be funny and cute.
Yeah, you can definitely do like funny, wacky stuff with Timbersaw.
Yeah, he has a lot of potential.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I really like that set. I really was like
Thank
studying
you.
that fur on it. I was like, oh, it's so good. You guys
Oh,
did
yeah.
such a good job. Like integrating that with the different material types
It was
of
fun to make too.
like
It wasn't
timber
like super. You know, some sets are just like really annoying. Like they have like way too
Yes.
many slots. So there's just like something about it is just like makes it like just a pain. There was just nothing challenge. It was just like everything just went really well. So it was just a pleasant experience.
That's
Way too many slots reminds me of the tiny set we were all gonna make together that never happened.
the Ike spreadsheet where we all had a part.
Yes.
Oh,
And he's
man.
like, you
I'm
all
sad
gotta
that
make
didn't
different
come
colors.
together.
There's still time, y'all. So, some of you kind of did mention other games, but do you create items for other games, like any other games than Dota 2 now, or?
I just do a lot of modding. Like I did some stone half modding, and I don't get paid for that stuff. I just do it for fun. But other than that, most of the work that I do that's not Dota is just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I do some contract work, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with me. I do like some contract work. I really haven't done any modding. I keep wanting to go back and like do the rest of the TF2 ones and like start it all over, but like just for my own personal satisfaction. But it's hard to find time for it. But Counter-Strike is like the only other game that I feel like is kind of like worth the time to put in to do that. Like where you could theoretically get paid enough to make it worth your while. And that's actually a really fun workshop to do stuff for. But I wish there were more games. I would be all over like all of them if there were like more opportunities. So
Yeah.
maybe in the future.
Yeah, me and Mike did the Killing Floor contest, and I've been meaning to submit a couple of more. Like, I wanted to try to get together a couple more things to submit to the Killing Floor workshop, but I mean, it didn't. Their implementation of chests didn't go over super well with the community. But the items that we did make that went in did pay off like decently well. Nothing's gonna mount to nothing's gonna be Dota, but it was still like a fun project. And then I made some stickers for CSGO that didn't go in but were really fun. They really motivated me to really improve my graphic design illustration type vector illustration skills. So that was really good. And then when I was a kid at IMVU.
You can do more 2D stuff with CS:GO. Like you can focus on that more. Like it feels different.
Yeah, exactly. There's
With
a little
like
bit more
stickers for like the guns and stuff, or?
Yeah, and skins too. You can do skins. The best skins I feel like require
it is
a
kind
little
of
bit
like
of
a
3D
wrap,
finessing.
right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, you can do just no 3D at all. Like you could do just patterns and like literally never leave Photoshop.
Yeah.
And make
Yeah.
cool stuff.
I think some of the cooler ones that I've seen are like definitely just the plain patterns that just work so well. I think they're really hard because I've tried it and I'm like, I don't know how anyone does this stuff. It's so difficult to like get it to look good. So I get
Yeah, it's like you spend more time like in the little work, like in the tools, like picking the colors and trying to get everything to look just right, than you spend like on the work itself, and then like on like the promotional images for the workshop after that. Like that's like 80%, and then like doing the actual art is like the remaining 20.
Yeah. I remember making
cool.
stickers and you have to use those like retro VMT tools and I was just like,
Oh god,
what the heck? That was a crash course in like classic modding, basically. But it was fun. It's a fun workshop.
So I have a question. Do y'all, because y'all seem to like, do you communicate a lot and talk about like, is there like a central hub for like workshop artists that you keep up with each other's work? Do you collab on stuff, or because you seem pretty familiar obviously with each other's work and even talking about like collabing on the tiny set. So do you keep up with each other, or?
There's like a Discord group for Polycount Workshop and then just Polycount in general, Polycount forums, and then there's other forums. There's also Skype, but I uninstalled Skype and I had to reinstall it today.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. The Skype chat for a really long time was like the hub of everything, but then Skype kind of died and I never ended up migrating to the Polycount Discord, but I still follow everybody on Twitter, so it's just like,
Yeah.
and then like once a year for TI, usually we would see each other
Yeah.
and talk.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I feel like TI like these days is the like main place where we actually get to talk Yeah, remember the Skype chat? It used to be really cool.
Yeah, it used to be great.
I don't know. I don't know if it does the Discord, like, is that active? Like, we don't really have a place anymore. I think the workshop itself just isn't very active. Like, people aren't talking because they're not working on stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's what happened. That was one of my, I know we're going to get into it, but when the workshop started to not be so great, the thing I really missed was the community, because I missed chilling and talking and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, we'll talk
I think
about
a lot of it has got to do with, like, just the rate at which the items were not being accepted. And
Yeah.
I was like, we wouldn't even care if you didn't really pay us that much. Just accept more of our items so we have at least the smallest reward that we can get for making these, which is seeing them in the video game.
Like, there's a store. Like, just put it in the store. Sell them in the store. Doesn't have to be special.
Yeah. So before we get into the whole workshop economy stuff, what does, just to give people an idea of like what goes into making a set, what does your timeline look like from start to finish for a full set, or like a courier, if that's something, that's probably a whole different kind of thing than a set, but yeah, what does the timeline look like? How much time goes into it? What's the general TLDR for creating a set?
Sketches, and then you sketch like in a couple of hours or like half an hour or something, and then you ruminate. Well, this is what I do. I ruminate on the idea. So I'll like go for a walk or garden or something, and then I'll come back the next day and I'll do more sketches and more sketches and more sketches. So it's like a week of drawing and concepting, and then sit on it for a bit and then start modeling. So I guess the timeline is, it could be a month-ish. Mostly the concepting takes so much time.
That sounds about right. It does take a lot of time to get the concept just right and then just make it.
So once you have like an actual like idea in mind and you know what you want to create, it usually doesn't, the turnover time for that isn't too long.
I think once you get into the workshop and kind of know the process of making the items and like you understand like what your budget's going to be, more like if it kind of becomes easier to, you just kind of know what you're doing. Like you don't have as many surprises.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially if you redo a hero that you've done before, because you just know all the the things that are wrong with it and what to avoid, what your problems are going to be.
Yeah, the longest detriment, the thing that takes the longest is all the procrastination for us, at least. It's just like we've turned over a set in like a week before, just banging it out like nuts. But nowadays it's more like a month, because I don't know, I feel like we also have a bunch more like side hustle things going on, because like the workshop isn't the main focus anymore. But when the workshop was the main focus, it was like a week or 2 weeks, like done.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think I've made a set in like 5 days before.
Yeah,
TI.
yeah,
like there was like a TI deadline, and they're like, "All right, let's go 5 days."
Yeah, it
Oh,
could
yeah.
be anywhere
No, I
from like
feel
a
like
couple
I've
of
seen
days
that,
to like a month.
Wow. Okay. Do you tend to steer towards specific hero, like it's a certain style, or designing sets for a specific hero, or do you just do whatever you get a whim?
I just do whatever. I think I have a specific style, but I wouldn't know it. But I like to work with other concept artists sometimes, like Ike, and Stephors, my other friend who lives down the road. I'll get her to do something, so I don't do the same stuff all the time. Like I'll work on something a little bit different. It's fun.
Yeah, I feel like me and Mike definitely had a style that was very clearly Mike heavy, but like a little bit more classic, simple. It's a very specific style. But we started working with Fudgy Wudgy and Blade of Avilva, and like they also have like their own concepts and they have their own specific style. So I feel like we're doing a couple of different things now when we're working on stuff. It's like we're branching out, especially because like some of the older stuff didn't go in, and so we're trying to diversify, I guess.
Yeah.
And I feel like I do have probably my own style. Some of it was like maybe an influence, like when I used to do a lot of collaborating with Dry Socket Wes Parker, and sometimes for the most part I did the concepting, but sometimes like he would come up with an idea and it would be for like a hero that I wouldn't normally think to work on, or something like that. But I don't know, I feel like for the most part my stuff, like it kind of looks identifiable, but I don't know. I don't always see it myself, so.
Yeah.
I feel like that's an artist thing. Nobody can tell what their own
I
style
would
looks
say
like.
that too.
Yeah, it's hard to look at the bigger picture when you're just
I mean,
looking
you
at
might
it so
have-
close.
You might have like that one person on the workshop back in like 2014 who like tells you to like die every time you like he knows your style, like he knows you did it wrong,
Oh, gosh.
but it's always much harder for us ourselves to see.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you have a favorite hero to create like sets for, or?
Mirana.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Mirana and Enchantress. Those are my favorites for sure.
Sweet.
I don't, but I feel like Mike does, and so I'm gonna have to answer Juggernaut because like that is the right answer for us together as a team. Our favorite hero has to be Juggernaut.
Yeah. What about you, Alia?
I would do couriers all day if it wasn't like the most pointless thing in the world.
I'm a courier collector. I support this.
Like if that was a thing, I would just make. I mean, I'm not an animator, so that's like only part that I can't do. But I like to like come up with little like the whole character.
Yeah. That's super cute. You could do. There's so many. There's like limitless, basically, ideas that you come up with for couriers. It feels like. So, what's the most difficult part for you to create a set? Like specifically, what's the hardest part for you?
The colors.
Well, I feel
color
like
palette.
Yeah, the color palette.
for me, I feel like the hardest part these days is making something that I think people care about, like something that like we haven't already seen yet, like a million times, or like like what makes it worth. What makes the set worth making? Like, why does it? Because there may already be like 10 other sets and an Arcana. Like, so what makes it like something that someone would want to buy or like they would want to get in their chest? So I feel like that can be because there's just so much content, and it's just hard to like make something really stand out these days.
Yeah.
You have to compete against those particle effects.
Oh yeah, the particle effect, and you might get a particle effect someday.
Yeah.
Like, get your set in, but you can't plan for it. Oh, jokes.
Yeah, I feel like on that note, like sometimes the Arcanas and stuff, and like the Immortals too, have way huger budgets for polygons. They have particle effects. So if you're sitting down to make a set, I feel like sometimes transitioning from concept, which is like big enough to compete with the like Immortals, and then transitioning to like the actual budgets when you realize that your budgets are way lower than that, and there's no way you can do what you wanted to do. And I feel like that's probably one of our biggest. We have a couple of concepts like on the back burner because we don't know how to do it with the slots. We don't know how to do it with the budgets. Like, so I feel like that's probably our biggest issue.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh yeah, budgets are definitely that stuff's killer. It's really really harsh.
When you
Yeah, it
say
can
budget,
be.
what are you referring to exactly?
So it could be texture budget or polygon budget. Right?
It's like you have a limited amount of space, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like the idea is that Dota is optimized to run on many different machines. So we can't just make a huge like really detailed like high res sculpt and just put it in the game. It needs to be small enough to make sense when you're running it. So we need to be able to make our designs small enough to make sense for people running the game. The issue that I mentioned is that like sometimes like Valve can break their own rules. So like Immortals are usually way bigger, and so
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it used to be like so you'd only really see it from the top down, like but now that there's like the character select screen where you see things like really close up. So not only does it have to look good from top down, it also has to look good from pretty much every angle. And sometimes those 128 by 64 textures, really, you can see the difference.
So that's an issue, or not an issue, but like a really hard thing. It's just to like keep it small, but continue like try to get it as high quality as possible within those parameters.
Using the print, like using what you have, like the restrictions that you have to make it as good as you can. I think it just requires like the more experience you have doing it, the easier it's going to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do when you run into problems with a design? Have you ever just given up on like a specific concept that you really want to do, but you just couldn't seem to figure out how to make it work?
I'm trying to think, because like I work with Stephos, And pretty much I just do all the, like, I do the modeling and then I just hand it to her and I'm like, I'm pretty sure you can deal with this. And she, like, reduces it and everything and makes it fit in the budgets. And I'm like, you're a magician, thanks.
Oh, nice.
But, I don't think we've ever had to redo something. We just usually build the stuff so that if we do have a problem, we can just remove it. So, like, we can remove, like, a piece that's not integral to the design, and then we just can cut it back that way instead of having to rebuild it. I think I've had to rebuild something once with Danny Dim, but I can't remember.
But you never, like, given up on an idea because you couldn't get it right?
No, it's more like, I don't like this design, how it's turning out, and...
Yeah, I think you're more likely to just scrap something at the design phase if you can't make it make sense in your brain. And like I think that happens pretty often. I feel like we've got a bunch of rejected stuff in the trash bin somewhere where we like got halfway through and was like, maybe this isn't worth it, and then started on something else that felt more like it made more sense.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. So now we're going to talk about the workshop economy a little bit, which is pretty timely because for anyone who might not have been keeping up with the workshop itself, about a year ago, I think I looked at the Reddit post and it's at 11 months ago, so getting there. There was a collective post made by workshop artists to the Dota 2 subreddit about a year ago, and it was about the state of the workshop. As a TLDR, essentially Valve implemented the Battle Pass system in 2015, and it was working out pretty well for artists in an equally beneficial relationship between the artists and Valve because there was solid revenue stream due to regular majors that had Battle Passes, and then the Battle Passes used the cool sets that artists created as rewards. So then in fall of 2016, the artists started receiving a lot less for their work sold through the Battle Passes and got little to no communication from Valve when they did reach out about it. So, but the artists had to accept the Battle Pass terms in order to have any shot of having their sets in the Battle Pass and to make any kind of profit. But the terms were pretty unfair to the artists to the point of being an unreliable source of income. So, does that sound about right to y'all?
Yeah.
About right? Yeah.
Sounds about right.
So, how were you impacted by the changes made to the workshop over the past 2 years?
Less sets getting in. That's like the main one. Like there was, sure we knew that there was going to be battle passes and that every tournament should have a battle pass, but that didn't always work out. Like Manila didn't have a battle pass. They just bundled TI 6 into it. So we missed out on that. And then there was like, we didn't know how many chests per battle pass were going to come out, so we didn't know the scope of the community that would get put into it. And then there were like deadlines for stuff like New Bloom and things that the community wasn't really that excited to do. And then there were like TI deadlines, so people would be working, like what most of us would be doing right now, is I know I'm doing it, is we start making sets specifically for TI. So we start saying, okay, we're going to have 5 sets ready before May, and then that should be able to get into the TI Battle Pass. And then at the end of June, they're like, oh, hey, can you make, we got a deadline for TI. I want you to make everything look like fire. And we're like, oh, well, that's great. All the last, like, 5 months of work is just out the window kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they don't inform you of, like, the theme until, like, the last minute?
Well, actually, yeah, that's it's just a lot of communication. So.
Well, no, I do remember last year at this time I was already working on my TI set, and they had announced that it was going to be a water theme. And because I moved back to Pennsylvania in like late April, and I was like already on like the loading screen at that point. So we had a couple months to work on it, but I know even then people had started right after New Bloom was over in January. So there was at least some time to like start over from the stuff that maybe people had been working on before that. But yeah, that's pretty accurate. And when you hear that like there's going to be a theme, you know that pretty much anything that doesn't get in isn't really going to see the light of day after that because it's thematic, and you don't know. Yeah, you don't know how many, so you don't really know how much effort to put in because it might just be for nothing.
Yeah, I can imagine it gets pretty. Makes you feel a little burnt out if you put a ton of effort into every set and you might not get a single set into the Battle Pass. So that's a chance that you might not get anything in.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like we were saying, there's an upper limit on how early you can start. So like maybe we could have started in January for TI sets, but we didn't hear, like, even if there's enough time between them announcing the theme and TI to make 1 or 2 sets, that's only 1 or 2 chances, and then those sets are, done.
Yeah.
So
I think we heard about the water theme first from. Wait, was it no? It was the Frostivus theme. Sorry, I'm thinking of there was that Frostivus event that they were doing for the back creators, and I had to email them and say, are you doing this for workshop artists? Because you haven't announced it yet, and we're all questioning. And I think they announced like the next week. They're like, "Oh yeah, workshop artists, you have a deadline for thing," and we're like, "Oh what? All right, let's go. 1 month or 2 months to create like." It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's funny though.
So to be clear, who out of you is actively working like in the Dota 2 workshop, and like how much are you working in the Dota 2 workshop currently?
I would say I am, because like Mike is, and like I'm half of our business, and so like I am actively involved in the health and wealth of the workshop and like trying to make some sense of it. I haven't textured anything recently, but I would still say I'm involved.
Okay.
I took like kind of January off. I wasn't really doing that much stuff. Mainly because of Monster Hunter. I just wanted some time off to play Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going back to like the regular, like every 4 days a week doing Dota 2 stuff, and then I do that for about 5 hours a day, and then the rest of the week is cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency meetups and managing my shit and all that sort of stuff.
Okay. What about you?
I'm not really, to be honest.
You're just doing CS:GO, right?
Yeah, I had a rather disappointing experience with Frostivus, and it kind of like discouraged me a bit, where had to give up on us at last minute, and I don't know, like we haven't heard anything since then, and I haven't had anything yet in the game since like last year with New Bloom, and it didn't pay well, and I don't even know what kind of money is in Dota anymore right now. Like I've been doing some freelance stuff, some contract work here and there, and doing CS:GO. But I mean, if they announced something and it sounded pretty fun, I might put like a minimal effort of like 1 set in just to see what happens, because I like to do it. But I don't really feel too great about it at this point.
Yeah, it hasn't like proven anything to you to be reliable.
I don't know if maybe they don't like my style. And it's like you kind of really not sure what you're doing wrong, so it can be, I don't know, it would just do it for fun. I think that's the best way to look at it, is just make it for fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what kinds of changes would y'all want to see overall to make the workshop more sustainable for creators like it was, or maybe even better? Like something that would bring, like really get you excited to potentially get way more involved than you are now, and restore your hope into the workshop.
Well, I always go back to like 2013. 2013, the system was really good. Like you knew every month there'd be a monthly chest, and that'd have like 10 to 20 items, single items in it. So you could spend like 5 days on a single item and get like a small reward for it. Well, back then it was actually pretty big. But and then alongside that, they would add like 4 or 5 full sets to the store, so people could buy that outright. And every month you knew that was the pattern, so you could work all month and expect to get maybe 1 item in or 2 items in, and that was enough. Like that was your motivation, just to get stuff in. And it was really easy for new players to the workshop. They could come in and they could make like a single item to test out the waters, and when they see their item in game, they can interact with it, they can gauge what the community thinks about it, and it was really a small feedback loop for a lot of like, I don't know, motivational content. It was just really, really, really fun.
You need that to like grow, so you can like see what works and what doesn't, and then try again. Like iteration is so important when you're learning and growing and improving as an artist. So like, it makes sense.
Yeah, that
so
was really
like
fun.
a regular schedule of like knowing when there's going to be chests or battle passes and increasing the frequency of it so you have more structure.
Well, I agree with what these guys said completely, especially about having things in the store where people can just buy. But like another thing about that is, as far as being paid, is with the majors, it's like an exclusive thing, so they won't like even if you do get something in, that money is going to stop after a couple of months. But when it's just in the store, there's things that you can still make money off of years later, even if it's just a little bit. Like I'm still getting paid for a TF2 item from 2010.
Yep.
So that's kind of cool, just to know that like it can build up, and to add to what Anuxi said about with the more frequent additions, even if it's a smaller amount, you can gauge things much more easily. Like you can kind of sense if you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing, just because you're seeing like what's being added, and you can plan stuff out more carefully, I guess. And that was a much better time. Like, and I feel like there was more participation and people were more excited about stuff. But I don't know if it's possible to go back to that. Like maybe it is, maybe it's not.
Yeah, I can see that.
I feel like I'm ever the optimist. They added a couple of like monthly style chests at the end of last year. One of them was the Frostivus set, and then there was like the green one that looked almost like it was a throwback to the Polycount contest chest. And so I'm like optimistic that maybe they care a little bit. I feel like they're taking a long time with this battle pass. I know the community has been asking for it for a while, so I'm hoping that maybe they're looking at it's hard to be optimistic because we've years, right? We've been like, maybe this time it'll be different. I feel like it's possible that they could change it and not go back to 2013, because I feel like single items, as fun as they were, are not necessarily what the community will pay for the same way, and everybody's spoiled with full chests. But I think they can make it better. And I guess the last thing that I wanted to say about what they could do to make it better would be communication. And Valve's never been great at that. Yeah. But just being able to, I remember one time they asked us about a set that we had made, and they asked us to make changes, which is a thing that they sometimes do if they're going to put a chest into a battle pass. And we made the changes, and they were like, great, and then we never heard from them again. And it's kind of like Alia's Couriers, where it's like you are pretty sure that it's going in, and then you never hear anything about it ever again, and there's no way to find out without sending an email like, please tell me what happened, and even then you're not going to get a response. Yeah. But being able to communicate more regularly would make us feel more like we're collaborating instead of we're just begging you to do something, you know what I mean? It would feel more like a relationship than just an empty, fruitless venture.
Yeah, for sure. How do you feel about like you said in 2013 that there was basically just a monthly chest, but now it feels like a lot of the item drops and that kind of stuff is surrounding the pro circuit and what events are going on. So you think with Valve centering item purchases and stuff around events with the pro scene is more harmful to the workshop artists, or do you think having a more structured, just a monthly thing would be better?
I think the structured monthly thing is way better, because you could have 3 majors in 1 month kind of thing. It's not possible, but you could possibly have 3 majors in 1 month. Yeah.
There's just so much Dota.
There's so much Dota. It's really cool. I really enjoy it as a viewer. it's really cool to every weekend, all right, guys, come on over. We're going to have a Dota night. We're going to watch Dota, and we're going to play board games, and it's cool. But I don't think chests for third-party tournaments would really work anymore, mainly because they will have a competition sort of thing. If one tournament gets it and another tournament doesn't, then they'll be attacking Valve, going, hey, how come ESL got a chest but Dota Pit didn't get a chest, and Starlighter didn't get a chest, but DAC got one, but we're all the same partners, right? Just because, and it's oh, what a nightmare. So I can understand why they don't get chests anymore, and it allows them to reach out for more broader sponsors for their kind of funding. So ESL goes Mercedes and IBM. Oh, what, I don't even know. But
Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, Kennedy Space Center. That stuff was really cool. I love that. So, but yeah, I think the chest should be for the game, because there are a lot of people who play Dota 2 that don't follow the pro scene, that don't care, and they should just have they look forward to a regular thing. People love routine, so if they know that every month on whatever day there's going to be a new chest, people are going to be like, oh, guys, what's going to be in the new chest? Let's take bets. Let's like people were really excited back then.
Yeah.
And people just aren't excited about items anymore, except when it comes to like battle passes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because like battle passes usually have like a handful of really flashy sets, like all the particle effects and everything like that.
Mm.
So people get
that and the cool quests and stuff too.
Yeah, the quest lines are cool.
Mm. I think one of the better battle passes was Frankfurt, like one of the first battle passes where you could recycle items to get like the gold versions.
Oh yeah.
So you get like single items and then you can recycle them again and get like a higher tier single item and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really cool because it allowed the battle pass to grab single items from the community. So the community wanted to do single items again, which was really exciting. But then they scrapped that for the next one.
You mean like single items, as in like not like a full set, just like a headpiece or a sword or Okay.
Yeah, the recycling was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So previously, workshop artists were invited to TI to attend. What are some of the benefits when the public gets to directly interact with creators like you at TI?
It's just really fun. I mean, like,
I was trying to find a smarter answer for it, but I'm like, this is fun.
you feel a little bit like a celebrity. It's like,
so people
wow.
come up to you and they're like, whoa, you made that set, or that kind of thing.
Mm.
And you see people that cosplay your sets?
Oh, that's the best. That's so good.
Shout out to the cosplayers.
The only person who's cosplayed our set was Mike, and like cosplayed his own set, and nobody knew who he was, but it was fun anyways.
Aww.
But like, I remember we gave away posters one time. Like it was TI 5, I think, because we had a place where we could sit for a couple of hours and give stuff away, but we didn't have like this whole workshop setup that we had at TI 4. Mm-hmm. But I signed posters with like my handle, which was like really fun. Like people wanted my name on a poster. It's like, that was really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So having like that that setup, like the workshop artist area where people could come and watch you create, and I didn't attend that TI, so I didn't see it firsthand, but like, is that something that you think is like really brings a lot to TI itself and that you really enjoyed doing?
I did it for 2013, and that was really fun because we could give out digital items. So we could scan people's barcodes and like give them like a cool item, and it'd just be a random one. So some people would get like the shitty braces from your set, and then another person in the line would get Shagbark, and they're like, woo, or like some courier and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was really, really fun. That was really cool. But I think none of that sort of, if you don't have that draw, the crowd is a lot smaller and they're a lot more specific. So they're just there to see you, which I think is pretty cool too.
Or to get freebies, whatever you paid for to bring. So at least that was cool because we didn't have to spend any money to give something back to people. But yeah, it was fun. One time somebody showed me a picture that they had of their like wall where they had like the picture from like the past 3 TIs of like one of my sets. Like they had a different picture from each year. I thought that was really sweet that they had
that's
pictures
really cool.
and like, oh, they have a collection. I don't know, that's either really creepy or really cool.
We're gonna go with really cool because I don't want to be creeped out right now. I'm busy.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I always felt like that would be something, because TI, it's interesting. I only went this past year, and I felt like if you're not in the arena, when you're walking around, and there wasn't really a whole lot to look at, or because you don't want to sit in the chairs all day. You want to walk around. And the beer garden was awesome, but inside the arena, I felt like there was almost something missing. Like things for the community to engage with, like relative to the scene itself. So I would personally love to see like the workshop artists come back out and like have that kind of thing again.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have like the map content creators as well, and like in a section with like a couple of PCs set up so that people could play their mods and their additions to the workshop as well. That'd be really cool.
Like an artist alley almost.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was like.
Yeah, I feel like now it used to be just that they had Key Arena, and so like we were slotted in the arena. But now where they've kind of expanded outwards to encompass the entirety of like the Seattle Center and the Armory and everything, there's room there for us. They just need to give us a space, and I think that. I mean, people are debating whether or not TI is going to be in Seattle for very much longer, but like it's clear that they want to carve out a space for more than just the Dota games. So like they could just put us back there, and it would be fun.
Have a little party back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. Hopefully we'll hear about TI soon, but and hopefully, the workshop will receive some love.
Yeah, one year they didn't invite us until like 2 weeks before the event, and everybody was like, it's like they forgot, and then they were like, oh crap, we didn't invite anybody who makes stuff for the game. And like barely anybody could make it who wasn't already planning on
I
going.
think that was TI5.
Yeah, I think so.
You're right.
Wow.
We were going anyway, so we were like, whatever. But like some people were just like, I can't book. There's nothing left around the center. Like everything's booked.
It's a busy travel time. Yeah.
I lucked out. I lived like 3 minutes away walking from Key Arena. Could see it from my roof. Sometimes I was like, well, I guess I'll just walk over there if I need to.
That's convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So thinking about the future, I know you mentioned having like more regular item, not drop. I keep saying item drops, but like sets or treasures and things like that, and not necessarily centering all of or putting them into the shop and that kind of thing. So those are basically the kinds of changes that you would want to see to like revitalize the workshop and to maybe get you more like to restore your faith into it, and then also receiving more communication from Valve. Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yep.
And maybe giving more notice for like any themed events. Instead of like a month or two.
Yeah. Well, I think the general consensus of the workshop is, can we just not have themed events?
Yeah.
Nobody likes it. I feel like it's their way of saying that we're not going to have to dig and pick out old stuff. So we'll just put some random, like seriously, like I think like TI5, the theme's going to be like feet or something. And we're just all going to have to make a feet theme sets. And it's just because like it gives them like a tag that they can look through. Like nobody like on Reddit ever seems to like, oh boy, like Chinese New Year, I love it, or I love, water so much.
I love water, I need it to survive.
It would be cool if they did like a thing where it's like, okay, you have one tag to associate one set with for anyone who's got who's put like 3 sets on their workshop page, or like three additions to their workshop page. If you have one tag and you get to tag one item, and then we'll go through this tag and we'll just pick like
brilliant.
Then like one person won't get like 5 sets in, and then like 5 other people doing it.
So that's like every time now. It seems like there's a few, whatever.
So there's like an imbalance of like artists put like the one artist would get potentially far more into like a battle pass compared to everyone else. It's not like a pick and choose just because they design in a certain style or something.
Yeah, like I got 2 in at last TI, which I was like, holy fuck, that's awesome. But then I'm like, well, I could have given 1 spot away to someone else and still had the same feeling that I have now. Like I feel like, or like I know people we put a lot of work into it, and then some will do like one artist will do like 5 sets, whereas we will do like 1 or 2, and then of course he'll have a higher chance of getting stuff in. But is it the right way that we should be doing it if there's limited slots and we want to bolster the community? Like these are all arguments that we've been going through back and forth, and it's just like there's no real one thing that will fix anything, I think.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean right now it's not really in a good place for the artists.
Yeah.
So to move on from a mildly depressing topic, if you could make what would be your dream set to make if there were no item slot limitations or any restrictions? Have you ever had like any wild ideas that you just were like, man, I wish I could do this?
me and Mike made a single item, because single items, for Rubik that gave him kind of like a moving face. It was like a mask, but we set it up with flexes so that if they wanted to implement it, it would be the first item where Rubik's mouth moved. And we wanted to do maybe eventually, like, we're probably not going to do it, but if we had the opportunity to, we would make like a whole evil, like, possessed Rubik set. We've got a whole lore, like, storyboard drawn out too. Like, it's like this big, like, thing that we've concepted based around this one single item that we made. And so being able to flesh that out into an entire set would be really fun. And then maybe people would look at our lore storyboard or give a crap. But, like, it would be really, really fun.
Yes. More lore in Dota.
Yeah.
I love it.
I just want to do the vengeful spirit before she fell and became vengeful. Like, I'd want to do the Skywrath version of her kind of thing.
That would be cool.
With wings and everything, she's flying around like Skywrath. That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
I don't really have anything.
That's fine. That's
honestly.
Fine. So
I'd come up with something cool, I just don't know what yet.
Yeah, it's fine. So what do you see yourself doing with your art in the future? Continuing to do what you're doing now, or do you have any other plans?
I have no idea. No idea at all. Like, I like doing art, but I feel like there's other things out there that I kind of want to do instead. So it just depends on the project that I want to get into. Like, if there's a really cool project, then yeah, I'll make stuff for it. But I don't know. Not really sure. I'm at, like, that point in my life where I'm like, I don't know what I want to do anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Anuxi. Like, I lived in Texas when I first got into the game industry, and then Washington State, and I've worked at a couple studios, and I'm to the point where, like, I'm not sure if that's really what I want to keep doing. Like, there's no game studios in Pennsylvania, and I'd love to stay here. There's freelance work, but, maybe as it comes along, but there's teaching too. I don't really know what I want to be now. I love to do the art, but I mean, is there something else that I'd rather be doing maybe, or that might be a little bit less stressful? I'll just see how it goes, see if anything comes up.
This is gonna sound like a plug, but I'm the graphic designer for Beast Coast right now, which is just like kind of in the same vein. Like, me and Peachy both work for Beast Coast right now, and so that we're just like an esports org. We eventually want to have a Dota team, so it's like just really in line with everything that I have been doing, but on like the other side, like the pro scene. The other thing that I'm doing is I have a job right now as the graphic designer for that same university that I dropped out of to go to art school. So that's pretty funny. So yeah. I'm just like, it's like, this is the university that I was like taking a Bachelor of Science at, and I left, and then they needed a graphic designer. So like, I'm right now the graphic designer for that, and it's like a good job because I get to interact with like college kids. They seem to think I'm pretty cool because I'm like, hey kids, I dropped out of this school, and they're like, wow, you're still doing something with your life. It's like, it's an inspiration that they don't get at college.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm still just graphic designing. I'm still arting, I guess, and trying to be in a bunch of different places, and
Yeah, I feel you. So, well, you kind of got into that, but I was gonna say, does anyone have any upcoming projects or anything that you want to plug before we end the show? Anything like that? Do you have any sets coming out? Anything that you want the community to vote on? We can put the link below in the video for people when we upload on YouTube for you to go vote.
Oh, yeah.
So back in 2013, I told Malini, I'm going to make you a Zeus set because I can't afford to sub to your Twitch. And it's been, God knows how long, like 5 years or something. So now I'm like, Malini, you're retiring. I think it's time.
Aw, that's so
like,
sweet.
Yeah, but that's it. That's what we're working on.
That's cute. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. And I'm like, what do you want for your Zeus set? He's like, I don't care. Just make me one. I'm like, okay, cool. That's the easiest. That's the easiest one ever.
Yeah. Good. What about you, Alia? Anything upcoming that you want to plug?
No, I'm sort of in between everything right now, like finishing up some contract work, and I'll probably get back into Counter-Strike after that, but I have no plans currently in Dota, which is kind of sad. But
your Counter-Strike work is really cool.
Yeah. Well, you never know what can change. Hopefully,
Yeah, it's true.
I feel like, you know, Valve is trying to get the pro circuit sorted out right now. So maybe after they get that sorted, they might put a little love into the workshop.
Always got to be optimistic.
Yeah. But for anybody watching, everybody watching, you can follow all of these lovely ladies down below at their, or this way. Their Twitter handles are below their names, so please give them a follow and follow their work and their Steam community workshop stuff. Upvote so they can get into Battle Pass.
Valve, please add this.
Valve,
Upvote
shout
us
out
on
if
Reddit.
anybody at Valve is watching this.
Yeah, I'll put it on Reddit. That's where.
Yeah, put it on Reddit.
There we go.
That's where
yeah,
things go to
put it on
seed.
Reddit. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, really though, I mean, it needs to be talked about, and that's a big reason why I thought it'd be a great topic to talk about for the grill. Is just because the workshop does need a little love, and it's, you know, the community artists, y'all do so much for the game. I mean, so much for the game. All the amazing sets and art it really has propelled the game to what it is. So, you know, love to y'all.
Great game.
Yeah, it is. It's a great game too, but it also is a pretty game.
Yes.
So, but yeah, so everybody, thank you for tuning in to this month's episode of The Grill. It will be up on YouTube and on Twitch as well later on. And please follow these ladies on their Twitter. You can follow me at Leafy Peachy, and you can follow Desoladies at Desoladies on Twitter. And I hope that you all have a lovely night. And thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.